High-grade Universal Century Rozen Zulu. Hey, what's up again everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, gundam.tk, and the high-grade Universal Century Rozen Zulu of Gundam UC fame is all put together now, and before you see the MS, it's time to take a look at the individual parts. So what does 2,800 yen get you for an HGUC? Well, that empty sheet of plates and the plastic there is going to give you some very large body parts there. The head almost gets lost in there. You're going to be getting some stands there, 4 in total, 2 long, 2 short here. You can see the shield there, some psycho jammers, and a few extras off in the bag in the relay incoms. This kit is totally unpainted, but it's always nice to have some real touch markers around in various colors here to get rid of the discolorations if you're just going to cut it off and be lazy like me, and a brown lining marker is going to come into play here, especially with the brown parts, which sadly should be pink. But even more important than lining markers, the real star of this show is make sure you have yourself a good set of tweezers and you're good at putting on these 44 decals when you do it all up. Now the pink color you're seeing here is the color that you'd like to see more of around the actual body itself, but the construction was actually a lot of fun when you put this together. It's got a very interesting and unique shape to it, but at the same time construction is going to be pretty simple, just 2 parts up here for the thighs. You can see that the hips are going to move around here. And the knee bend is going to go like this for 90 and down like that. And you'll notice that that blade is going to pop out there. So you're going to have a lot less of an ugly view if you're looking at this straight on. Put it back in and you see the way that it just goes down into that attachment point there. And it's not actually attached, but it's all going to look really good. For the sides themselves, just slap 2 sides on there and then you just put on the front part and the back part here, which is going to have another fin. This is going to move up and down. You could add some ink back there if you wanted to. And these gray parts here are going to be the same colors as the thrusters on the back. They almost get lost in the shuffle, but in terms of seals, not all that bad here on the lower body. These ones, though, are going to go on round parts, so you can guess that they can pop up pretty easily. These ones here are going to go on nice flat surfaces, and then this one, just be careful when you put this whole thing together. And for the ankle bends, you can see here that it's going to move this far forward, and the toes are just going to pinch in a little bit. But whoever had the idea to take a 22-meter Gundam here and give him only this much surface area touching the ground, I wonder. Here's a better look at the ankle connector. You can see that it's going to come about this far forward, and the feet themselves. Relatively simple there with just a few pieces. And I thought it was interesting putting this together that on the inside here of this thigh, hard to make out, but that's actually a clear piece of plastic instead of a regular polycap. The waist color doesn't look all that bad until you imagine it in the color that it should have been and see it in contrast with the legs. But in terms of the design, front skirt's very, very plain here, but the side skirts are going to really come to life. With the help of 3 seals here that you're going to put on, pretty easy to put these ones on because they're all going to be on a nice raised section. Of course, you can go and paint that up properly if you wanted to. This little white circle here is going to be on a raised section there, so again, easy to paint, or just push it down with a Q-tip if you want to make it flush. It's great to see the brown piping here, which is very Zaku 2-ish. Also had some down on the legs, although you notice that there's that little hollow spot there that you might actually be better off painting in a different color. But on the waist section itself, it's sort of going to get lost here from the side and from the front. You're really not going to make out that much of it unless your eyes are looking at it from this kind of angle. But the skirts themselves on the side open up in an interesting way. You can see that they're on rectangular parts here that go into the back of the skirt there. And when they do that, that's going to reveal the front skirt, which is going to look very plain there with no... I've got a little bit of lining in there, but it's not going to stand out at all. But you are able to bring this forward if you want to go for a full kick. But 9 times out of 10, that's going to be sealed up and it'll look better there. And the rear skirt, stationary. The chest section here is going to come in 2 pieces here, with this lower part being made up of 3 parts. It's got a lot of very visible Zaku 2, and I just went with some black lining in there, and 2 pieces of brown there. This is just going to plug in before you actually take this part here and plug it into the waist section. But when you look at this, you're going to see the brown and the blue interspersed throughout with seals galore. These are going to be the first ones you put on, I think, according to the manual. You put on 3 up here, 1, 2, 3, and then do the same on the other side. This massive one over here, which unfortunately over time is going to be peeling up here at the bottom. Never something that you want to see on, especially on something that's supposed to catch your eye so much. But when you're first putting this together, I've got to say that most of the seals went on relatively easily. These were the most difficult ones though, because Bandai tries to have them both looking good from the side and from the front, and I've really tried to do this as best I can, but you're still going to have them bubbling up in places. You're going to have them twisted awkwardly in places, and that's just because every other part just has them trying to cover up one side. This one, they're trying to make it look good from 2 sides, and it fails pretty badly. This would be the piece, I think, that you'd be best off painting, if any. The shoulders are incredibly simple in their construction here. Just going to have this part open up there, and you can see just 2 large parts slap on, and then you put this part on here. A little bit of lining, but you're hardly even going to see it over there. But this is an example of where the seals really work well. You're going to be putting them on and it's like 1, 2, 3 over the top. So 5 in total on either section, and then this big one down below. But these ones, they all went on really, really well, and they are going to have some overlap. So it's nice that Bandai wasn't cutting them too short. So even if you don't line them up perfectly, they're going to cover up for one another. You just may have to nudge them in place to make sure that they sit properly underneath. The arm itself introduces us to the fourth color here in terms of the gold. You can see that we're going to have this part move around, the polycop go up and down, so hopefully a good range of movement. And for the elbow itself, it's going to bend at 90 degrees and no more. But it's down to the forearms where things are really going to start to get interesting. First of all, I like the blue elbows there. The purple parts are going to look good, and it's cool to have these claws, even though they're in the back and not looking all that menacing. You can see the shield attachment here. But when you take a look at these forearm parts here, the covers are made out of blue. And if you notice here, this is where it's attached, and this is where it's attached. And they did a very interesting job here of putting the seals together. It's just one on the top and one on the bottom. But a lot of them are actually going to go underneath there. So again, you're going to have that little bit of overlap. And when you squeeze them in together, it actually holds them in place most of the time. So even though I worried about how these would work on the forearms with these 3 blue pieces on there, I'd say they work much better than expectations. And the claws themselves are going to look good, especially with this incom detaching here, as it's going to have some nice looking blasters there made out of blue with the pink around it, a few pieces making that up, and a decent range of motion here for the gray claws, which really help it stand out. Here's the backpack part that you're not going to see as it's going to be plugged into the back itself, but lots of complexity already adding to the monstrous head height of this kit here. You can see that it's going to be primarily brown here with a little bit of blue back there and some gray, I suppose. And what do you get with these thrusters? Well, first of all, I'd say that this pink part is going to look great over the shoulders when you put it all together. And just the fact that they're intermixing here, the brown and the blue, is a big plus. And it's really cool that they just took these one piece here on either side and just have it sticking out on the other on either side there for no reason other than the rule of cool. You can take these and pop them open, and you can send out the jammers here in the forms of a folded up rose here. And there's good mobility here with these backpack parts, as you can see them move in and out, but of course they're just going to look good when you set them at this kind of angle onto the back. And when you deploy the roses here, you can see them, this is in their smaller form, and you're going to be getting 6 of the larger ones as they're in full bloom, and these can attach onto the stands. But first to the shield, where this guy already has a lot of weapons built into his body, so no beam rifle or anything to speak of. But this is independently powered, and it's going to look really cool here. You've got the brown on the blue, which is going to look okay. It's got a nice deep attachment point there, and you can see it. But more importantly, it's going to have this nice gray color here on the inside. So you're really getting, again, a lot of colors in a small area there. It's just unfortunate that one of them is brown instead of pink, but otherwise, this looks like a lot of fun. Hopefully, it's not just going to be hidden, though, on the back of the forearm. Now, you may have made out a clear part on the inside of the forearm when you detach the claws, but when you put these together, these are actually going to take a lot of time compared to building the other parts of the model. So you're going to want to take your time and do it right and don't make some of the mistakes I did in terms of putting these on, although the end result is not going to be too terrible. Here you've got 2 gray clear parts here, and you're going to take these 4 gray wires, plug them in, bend up about 3 millimeters, and lock them inside. There's even incredible places here for you to fold them inside before you seal it up. If it doesn't want to seal up, just make sure that you're doing it right before you do that. But I know it laughed a little bit looking around the box here, because you can just see that Bandai can't even get them all the perfect length. I cut them all exactly the same, tried to fold them 3 millimeters as perfectly as possible, and yet they're always going to look a little bit awkward there. Perhaps that's the best you can do. The relay incoms here, I took these ones here, and they do say that you can fold them up and all together. The problem is that these 4 lines are going to try to keep them all lined up, so you're going to have to twist the lines if you do want to offset them here and then plug them together as a unit. Although that's not a terribly bad thing, you're not really going to see the gray lines getting pinched on the inside. But if you want to do this right, you can take these ones here that are all folded up and attach them down here. This is the part where you're going to actually attach the hand onto. And with these, you're going to get 4 of these relay incoms that are plain. These are in their folded up mode. You get 6 of these, and you're going to have 6 of these in their unfolded form. Just be careful here, because you're going to have 2 of them that are going to have these attachment points for this clear part here. This is going to sit on the base quite nicely. Just make sure when you're putting them on here that you put them on in the right order. So here's the other one that I created, and when I cut the wires, I decided to go 2/3, so I'll just have one longer one and one rather short one here. But here you can see the regular relay incoms without that attachment point, and over here, these ones also don't have the attachment point. It's only this one that's going to allow it to go on here. It is very unfortunate that Bandai's only going to give you 2 of these long stands though, so you're going to have to go long, short, or that kind of thing, or you can go long, long and just not use the other one. And you can see the incoms blasting down here. You could take more of the folded up ones and actually attach them down here, but the incom itself is going to attach on quite nicely here. Everything is going to have these little indents there, so you have to attach them on in the right place, and the whole thing is going to look pretty cool here. You've just got to be careful that it doesn't go falling off the stand as you attach this on, but you're going to have a great range of movement here as it can rotate, go up and down. Again, just make sure that it doesn't pop out. And the base itself is going to move, so you can have these sitting at all sorts of interesting angles, and it's great that Bandai's including this many play options. And all of these rods, long or short, are going to have these circles here, in addition to this little cup-like thing that's going to hold on to the incoms when they're shooting out, but you can have your jammers out here looking all good in terms of flowery goodness, in full bloom at various heights, at various angles. And finally, it seems like a bit of an afterthought here when you're putting the head together. You've got your Zaku piping, this long snout here, and just a few brown pieces that you pop together, and then you add on these large parts here on the side of the head, but it's still going to get lost when you put it inside that massive collar there. Just one thing to be careful of, you're going to be putting on one big black seal there for the eyes, and you've got a tiny little mono eye. If you put it in the middle though, it's going to get lost, so you'll probably want to have him looking off in one direction or another. Lots of neat engineering went into this kit, and if you don't mind putting on the stickers, the vast majority outside of the neck ones worked out. And what do you think about the two colors? Well, we'll know when it's all put together. So stick around for the next part, everybody. Can't wait to see these weapons in action, and as always, please let me know what you think with a comment down below. Thanks for watching, everybody. See ya. All we need is George here for the Battle of Pink Flowery Supremacy.